Hey, how much do you know about the Hudson River Valley? Well, our next guest knows plenty about it. And I'm not talking about the main streets. I'm talking about the little nooks and crannies. I'm talking about ruins, places that have been sitting for years with secrets of their own. My name is Vin Dacquino. Our next guest is David A. Steinberg. Dave?
Hi, Vinny.
Let's talk writing.
Let's do it.
Hey, you have written a terrific book. But before we get there, I need to ask you.
Please.
Who are you? What do you do? When did all this come about for you?
My name is David Steinberg. I'm a Queens boy by birth.
Oh.
Went all over Long Island back in the day with my friends, poking around. We were very big into urban exploration, sort of sneaking into places that we maybe shouldn't have been, but the fact is we did it. We're here. We had a great time. It was definitely a learning experience for all of us. I learned photography. I learned about getting into places, following my interests, and eventually it all, we grew up. I began leading hikes for various organizations, and then the interest never left me. I was always interested in the exploring and the poking around in just the ruins and artifacts, because to me, Vinny, it was about goals in writing the book.
So your goal
Yes.
is to help people understand that there are more places than meets the normal eye.
Most
There
definitely.
are things in caves and woods and back roads. I'll never forget the time that the two of us went off into the woods to find a stone chamber, which we unfortunately never found, but what a day of hiking, going through. It's amazing that the woods are still there. And sometimes we're so busy in our everyday things that we forget about some of the things that existed even from the past. What are some of the places you've visited?
Well, abandoned towns, old military sites.
Wow.
I want to say ghost towns, abandoned mansions.
Now, you know ghost towns. You're getting close to my heart when you get there. Remember, I did Hauntings of the Hudson River Valley. One of the things when I was doing this book was that I discovered that the actual cabin that Abraham Wanzer, the man who was killed in 1844 supposedly by George Denny, still existed.
Well, Vinny, I really have to call you on the carpet on this just a little bit. When I
Okay.
say ghost towns, we're not talking about hauntings. We're talking about abandoned places. Some place.
So not necessarily with ghosts. You
No.
just mean abandoned when you say ghost.
That's
okay,
correct.
that's good.
And I'm pleased to clear that up.
I'm
because
not.
it's
I was all excited about seeing the ghost.
Hey, listen, not to say the ghosts aren't out there. If you know where to look, and if you read
Yeah,
my
there
book
you go.
carefully, there are
And
definitely
many times in abandoned
Yeah.
places. I mean, you do go to cemeteries and things like
Absolutely.
that as well, right?
Yeah, that's right. In passing, as you're moving along, particularly in Harriman, if we could talk about Harriman for just a moment, Harriman State Park, Bear Mountain, there are just layer upon layer of human existence that's been there, going back, of course, way before the park was there. Iron mining took place over there, and as one layer becomes covered up, another one opens up. The Industrial Revolution, war, technical advances mean that just like sort of as the technology even of today becomes old, and your computer winds up on the landfill somewhere, someday somebody's going to come across and go, oh, wow, look at that old computer.
Yeah.
So that's very, not too different from what I'm
You know, one of the things
doing.
I'm sure you've heard me say, because I've said it about 10,000 times, is that every time we keep yesterday from the children of today, we're stealing a little bit of their tomorrow, because there's so much to learn about the way we lived in the past. I know when I was doing hauntings, there were what I call my oh my God moments. Were there any oh my God moments when you were out there looking at some of these ruins where you said, whoa?
Yeah, sure. I hate to keep coming back to Harriman, but Harriman has just
Okay.
got so much. And also really what I've been kind of onto lately with the stone chambers that you and I have been a little bit involved with, that's probably my latest oh my God moment, where you're looking at these things going, what in the world are we looking at here? You know, before, I just don't want to forget to touch on something. My message, Vin, is that explore. Get out there today. Don't wait. Because the longer you wait, these things
disappear.
they disappear. And even things in the book came out in '07, things have changed. And it kind of breaks my heart that, you know.
People are knocking things down. They're clearing the way.
Bulldozing
for
historic
progress.
sites. I mean, for God's sakes. I mean, Boston Harbor Island's one of my chapters, one of my absolute favorite places to explore. Old World War II era ruins, and even beyond Civil War era. I was there with my son Noah last year, and I was just shocked at how much was gone. Shocked and saddened at how much is gone.
When Noah and Christian, my grandson, went with us, I was thrilled to watch the two, to listen to them, laughing, exploring. Let's go. Oh, look at that, look at that, look at that.
But us too, Vin.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's true. That's
You
true.
see, that's the kick, is that the
That is
excitement
the kick.
doesn't end.
That's right. And you don't have to pay a fortune to go to a movie. You don't have to read anyone else's book. Every hike is a chapter. And speaking of that, these chapters that you do, question, is there an organization, a particular organization to the book? I mean, do you go by region or by place? Is there an order to your madness?
Yes. What I really try to accomplish is representing each particular era of habitation or civilization. For example, I could write a book just on Harriman itself, just on the iron mining, but that would be kind of dull. So I try to get some of the military aspects. Like there are just so many old military leftovers around that I want to make sure that that's represented. And other industrial revolution sites.
Speaking of mining, have you touched on Tilly Foster at all?
There's really nothing at Tilly Foster.
Okay.
Other than the big flooded pit, there's nothing there. And maybe a ghost or two, Vin.
There we go.
But that's your thing.
All right. Okay, so the idea is to capture periods of history, and especially military. So talk to me a little bit about military.
Yeah. Well, gosh, we are so fortunate around here that there is just tons and tons of this stuff looking around. If you just keep your eyes open, if you do a little bit of advanced research as well, you can find all kinds of things out there. There's Civil War era, there's Revolutionary, there's World War I, World War II, the different eras of fort building, first system, second system, et cetera, going on. It's just all over. And if you just look around, and of course follow my chapters, you'll find it. And you don't have to go that far, and you don't have to look all that hard, because the great part about it is in many cases they're legally visitable. They're in state parks,
So
national
this is not private
parks.
property that you're
Absolutely
sneaking
not.
around in.
No,
It's-
even though my background is definitely on the cagey side in terms of legality, my goal for the book was to make everything legally visitable and absolutely on the up and up, that you can go, you can have a great time searching out these sites and not have to worry that you're going to be interfacing with the law.
Now, there's a question I have to ask you, because we talked about stone chambers, and there are so many theories about the stone chambers.
Yeah.
Where do you lean? Are we talking Celtic? Are we talking?
Oh, well, listen, they're
root
clearly
cellars?
UFO originated. They're portals to Andromeda. I mean, one of the guys on one of our trips told me that. No, I really have no idea. And in fact, the more you look into these chambers, the more you realize that you can't possibly understand, anybody that...
These are more than root cellars. I mean, these are like
I'm convinced of that.
incredible
Yes.
structures.
Yes.
On tops of mountains.
Most definitely.
Who would build a root cellar
Most
on the top of
definitely.
a mountain?
Vinny, root cellars have features. They have floors that are tilted in a certain direction. They have doors that close. They have venting on the top. Our stone chambers don't have any of that.
No.
In fact, there
a lot of them here in Putnam, right?
the chambers, there are hundreds of them. In fact, you can go see root cellars. Mierstead, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Park has at least 2 classic root cellars that you can go visit. We can go right now, Ben. Let's go afterwards.
Go.
We can go look, and you can see a classic root cellar, and then you can go look at the stone chamber, and you say to yourself, "Nah, there's no way."
The King's Chamber.
Well,
magnificent.
even more than that, if you go to your library and you go pull out a book on England or Scotland or the UK,
yes.
or a book, or there's a series of travel videos I found completely by accident, where they come across these old, I can't say who built them, but you come across these chambers overseas and you go, this is what we've got over here. I mean, this is exactly it.
Yeah, we had a guest here, Renee Fleury, who came here to talk about her exploration of these chambers. She actually went to England, and she said, "Oh my God,
yeah, absolutely.
You're talking about the same chambers." And it is freaky.
Vin,
I've
it doesn't
seen the photos.
take a genius to look at this. You just,
to know that it's more than just that.
Yeah, I'm really convinced. You could argue either way, but I think that you're disingenuous if you speak with any kind of authority. Where, like on the hikes that you and I have been on, and searching these chambers out where people know what they are, no, you can't possibly.
Yeah. Now, I know the book is Hiking the Road to Ruins, but you do a certain element of camping as well, right?
Oh yes.
Tell me a little bit about the camping aspect of what you do.
I love camping. I've been camping since I was 5 years old with my parents. It's just such a part of me that I couldn't possibly put a book like this together without talking about camping a little bit. And Vin, if I could camp in a ruined setting, I am a happy pup. And I've gone through a lot of trouble to come across campsites where we could go camp. You and I will go camp. And in the best situation, our campsite is near one of our sites. And
there'll be some place to plug in the TV, though, right?
Well, not if you're camping with me, but we'll bring a radio. But you see, but that's what's great about camping is you live like an animal for a few days, and then you get home
and to know what it's you live like a real human
absolutely
for a few days.
But then
and
when
know
you
what
get
it's
home,
like to smell the flowers, man.
Well, you get home and you look and you go, you know what? I've got a bed, and my bed is right next to a sink with running water, and I could actually take a shower, like next to where I'm sleeping.
You begin to appreciate what you have.
It really does. It really does, yeah, for sure.
And to know that years ago, people just didn't have a lot of the things that we have today. That's why it's important to let the kids of today learn what yesterday was like.
Yes, and just getting back to your camping question, I think a lot of people that haven't done it maybe want to, but don't know where to begin. I think that they have kind of a weird concept, like my in-laws think that I'm like sleeping in the mud at night. Try it. You got nothing to lose.
Where would you recommend for a beginner? Someone who hasn't been camping. I mean, is there a simple way to do it for the first time?
Yeah, sure. You can go to any state park, and being that, where we're talking about...
You can go to like Harriman State Park and sleep overnight?
Harriman, Fondstock,
really?
Even some of the smaller county parks.
And do you have to get a permit or something to do that?
Yeah, in most cases. Okay. There are just plenty. You got to do your due diligence. And just do simple web searches, speak to people. Give me a call. Drop me an email. I'll tell you where to go.
Wow, that's great.
There are plenty of places.
And your email's on the screen, so... By all means. Now, I notice even like Fondstock, right at 301, you could pull off to the side of the road, rent a rowboat right there. I mean, the rowboats are like sitting right at the edge of the road. So it isn't like you have to hike 92 miles through the woods to get to a spot, right?
No, you can be as ambitious as you care to be. If you want to just take your kid out, because really the worst thing you can do is beat a kid up the first time out.
Yeah, that's right.
That you got to take baby steps and do it gently, or your wife, your girlfriend. You want it to be pleasurable, and sometimes, listen, I'm guilty of that as well, of being overambitious. But start slow, build up the skills, and then eventually, Vin, you and I are going to be taking my canoe out and running up to the Adirondacks and paddling 3 miles
Sounds good to me.
across a lake, and we're going to go camp in the middle of some ruins out on Little Tupper Lake and listen to the loons at night, and you're going to say, why haven't I done this more?
Now, when I think of ruins, I think archaeology. Do you do that? I mean, do you look around for relics or?
No, I'm a big believer in leave it alone. Take a look, photograph as much as your heart can possibly take it. Don't take anything. Unfortunately, I know people that do that, and I don't agree with that.
You're taking it away from someone else who's.
Well, listen, time goes on. As we said, the ruins don't get any better in times. The historic sites, in rare cases, sometimes they might be, get painted, or they might be possibly, like I think of Untermeyer Park in Yonkers. That was.
Oh God!
That was
I remember. I discovered that years ago. It is beautiful, but I'm sure that
a creepy place.
30 years ago is when I used to go there.
Yeah, well, the creepy place. And when I was researching the book, I was looking at it saying, wow, I love this. I mean, it was chipped and falling apart, and the paint was peeling, and it was like a wreck. And I put it in sort of my appendix, and then I went back not too long ago, and I was very disappointed to see what kind of great shape it was in. Yeah,
and we're talking about Yonkers. We're talking about right off of like Broadway. It's right there. I mean, that too is not like hidden.
It's not hidden, and it's right in the middle of all kinds of other. The Boyce Thompson Estate is right across. That was an old agricultural college.
And the museum, not far
Hudson
from
River
there
Museum
as well.
is right over there. Sure.
Yeah.
The Aqueduct Trail is also right along.
Now that's another one. The Aqueduct Trail.
Yeah.
I used to live in Terrytown. We used to walk the Aqueduct Trail by the Moon property and over by
I know
what was it? Not Lindbergh, the castle.
Not Lyndhurst.
Lyndhurst.
Oh, okay.
And Lyndhurst, and it was beautiful. My kids were babies then.
Yeah.
We used to take baby carriages and walk along the aqueduct. I mean, there's so much to see in so many unusual places. And
That's
some
right.
usual places.
Well, that's really the heart of what I'm trying to accomplish with the book, is put together a collection of good ideas for places where you could, depending on your skill level, you could take your kids, you can run up to Cranberry Lake in Harrison and just spend a great afternoon exploring. And hopefully the kids will go into the chamber over there and get a bit of a buzz and say, yeah, this is really cool. And then you're going to say, well, what's next? And then you're going to say, yeah, well,
and you mean a natural buzz, don't you?
Of course. It's the when you're asking me about the oh wow moment. That's what it's all about.
That is
coming over the hill and seeing something, and especially if you're a photographer, which is definitely my background. You're looking for, but again, also goals. It's about goals.
Do you have photos on your website?
Yes.
Oh, good. So if we go to your website, we can see some of the photos of some of these wonderful places.
You could also go to a website, abandonedminds.net, which is
abandonedminds.net.
That's a website I post all over. Dan Lopez, my buddy, put up a section of it, the abandoned and neglected side of the message boards. I post all over there, which is some of the nonsense I've been getting into lately. And you can see some of what I've been up to and some of the places I've been. And I give presentations sometimes, and now, people are always interested.
What do you actually do for a living? How do you put bread on the table?
I own a small business. I sell and service machines.
Oh, so this is truly the passion. So it's not really related to how you put the bread on the table. It's what you do when the day's done.
That's right.
And weekends and nights and the things that haunt you. Me too. Writing is my passion.
Yeah.
Working with writers is my passion.
Yeah.
We all need a passion. And one of the things you're saying is that there's a lot of passion to be gotten from some of these ruins and some of these places that exist.
Yeah.
It's
That's right, and so many people. Well, I should be careful with what I say, but I've been approached, especially since publication, by folks that go, "Boy, I would love to see this stuff, but I don't even know where to begin." Or I'd love
begin
to go
with your book.
camping, and I don't know where. Well, of course.
Hiking
Good,
the
right?
road to ruins.
Hiking the road to ruins. You can pick the book up, but even more than that, sometimes you might hear of a place like Doodletown, again in Harriman, where you want to explore it. And I was just amazed to find out there is nothing written about exploring Doodletown, or the Dunderberg Spiral Railway, also in Harriman. Some of the mines in Fonstock that you kind of know they're there, but like where are they?
What about the old Mayapack mines?
Yeah.
Is there anything still there today?
In my explorations, I think a lot of them are old arsenic mines, and they've either been remediated or bulldozed or sealed up in some ways. The funny thing is, looking for some chambers, I was looking over some of my atlases, and I would see, I don't know, I forget exactly how they would indicate it. On the map, it would say cave. Right.
Yeah,
and I go, oh, wow, what's that? And you go over there thinking it would be a chamber, but no, it's an old arsenic mine. So, of course, that's kind of a dangerous thing to explore.
Yeah. Even at the Ninum Mountain, there's an old bunker. And people mistakenly believe that it was a chamber, but it really is just an old bunker where they kept supplies and
you're talking about on top of the mountain, right?
Yes.
I think they're kind of riffing on the chamber that's up there.
No, there's right at the parking lot. There's a
I know what you mean.
a chamber right there. Then there's a real chamber.
Yes.
Up the trail a little bit, but the one right to the right,
I know.
They said was more of an arsenal or
of course.
munitions chamber.
But the fact remains that there's a very fine stone chamber steps away from that one, so maybe the builders are looking at that and getting some ideas. But of course, if you don't really know the history, or if you're kind of uncertain about it, you could certainly mix up the real from the later structures.
Talk to me for a second about what I need to be a hiker.
Okay.
So I need a compass. I definitely need some kind of sandwich.
Okay. Okay, what you need is a plan to begin with. You need to look at your maps. You need to make a plan. You need to tell somebody where you're going, where the route you expect to take, although anybody that's read my book is probably just going to take my ideas and then fly with them and do what they care to do. You, of course, need food. You need water. You need some first aid with you, basic first aid. You need, if you slip and gash yourself, you need to be able to deal with that. You got to remember, Vin, that as you're hiking with me and you're 2-3 miles in, you can't just go, I've had enough.
Yeah,
it just doesn't work
hike
that
back.
way. You got to get out, and that's the thing that you need.
The trail up means you have a trail back.
You need to keep that in mind. You need to think, when something goes wrong, am I prepared? Which means extra water, maybe a water filter with you.
Food,
definitely.
first aid kit, good shoes.
Absolutely, for good shoes.
Don't try to do this in sandals.
Or sneakers is a terrible idea. Layers of clothing that you can take on and
take off, then be able to carry.
Well, that brings me to a decent-sized backpack. A book bag is probably the minimum, but I would recommend that you go
one with the little metal things in the back.
Whatever you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
Don't underestimate what the elements can do to you. Don't underestimate what can happen if you're out hiking and then it starts raining.
You need that's another thing. You have to consider the weather. You have to consider the fact that rain makes mud, and mud is slippery.
That's right.
And dangerous.
Now, also, what I would recommend, and I do in print, is that you should keep stuff in the trunk of your car for when you come back. Maybe a thermos of tea. Maybe I always bring an extra change of clothing with me. That's always in the trunk. An extra pair of shoes. Just whatever you need to make yourself comfortable.
Now,
afterwards.
Cell phone? You do bring a cell phone just in case.
Absolutely. Sure. They don't always work, especially in some sections of Harriman. Again, there are definitely dead spots, but it's better to have the tools with you, because even if they don't work in one particular area, as we're hiking, Vin, and you suddenly slip and break your leg, I've got to take care of you. I've got to figure out a way to make you comfortable while I go out.
If you remember, I
and get
twisted
help.
my ankle.
I do remember
when I was limping for 4 days after that.
I don't hold it against you.
Yeah.
That's okay. You see,
Thank
to
you.
me,
I'm forgiven.
Vinny, to me, what's more important is your intentions.
Yeah.
That you're out there with the best of intentions, that you want to explore and you want to have an experience and have some fun and get back safely.
Speaking of intentions, are you intending to do another book?
Well, yes, I just got the okay to do a revision from Rutgers University Press.
Wonderful.
So that's what I'm working on right now.
Will you pick up where you left off, or will you explore whole new places?
Oh, no. I'm going to be removing some chapters from the current book and then
really?
adding a few more. Remains to be seen right now.
So it really is just another edition of the first book, but there's going to be some new interesting things.
Revised,
and some
updated.
uninteresting things out.
Yeah, factually updated. Trying to, it's sort of like a magazine in some ways, you know, like issues of a magazine.
Yeah, to keep it up. All right, so now that we're working our way into the last couple minutes of the show, anything in particular you want to say to our audience?
Hi, Emily. I love you. That's my wife.
There you go. And your son?
My son Noah. That's right. And all my friends
who's
that
your
have
sidekick
come
on a
along.
lot of these.
Reluctant at times, but
Yeah.
you know, one day he'll get it.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yep. Excellent. And if we want to read your book,
Yes.
it's available just about everywhere. It's online.
You
It's
can
in
find it
bookstores.
at Amazon. Yes, that's right. What
It's
bookstores are
called
left?
Hiking the Road to Ruins.
Thank you.
David A. Steinberg.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. And you will be at Meet the Writers.
I expect
that
to be.
we'll have at the Mayapack Library. You'll join some of the other writers. People can come actually and talk with you, find out who you are, what you do, what hiking is all about.
I love it when that happens.
Glad to hear that. I hope to come with you again. I know Christian's excited about it. We'll get the boys going.
Not in
We'll
those
go.
shoes, Vin.
But not in these shoes and not in this vest. Dave, I can't thank you enough.
Vinny, I appreciate
It's
everything.
been a
Thank you very much.
great show, very informative. I've read the book. I love it. I'll read it again. Can't wait for the new version. Thank you for tuning in to Let's Talk Writing. We're going to be having more interesting guests. But for now, read the book that this guest wrote for us. Thank you for tuning in.